Hey, good morning guys. Some crazy weather last night. Did you guys see all the lightning and hear all the thunder? I woke up flashing coming through my window. It was amazing. Be careful today, it's going to be hot. It's 110 maybe again. Just make sure that you stay inside, stay cool. If you got to get work done while you still have internet, if your internet goes out or something because of all the heat. I understand, just work with it, do the best you can. But today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that lightning that happened last night. It was amazing. This is what was going on. All matter is made of particles called atoms. Small particles. These particles form the basis of solids, liquids, gases. So even the air is made of these tiny particles called atoms. Now, when these atoms rub together, they have this effect that they lose something on the outside called electrons. These electrons, right? So then you have a particle that doesn't have electrons. That particle wants to get back to the particles that do have electrons. The ones that have electrons are going to be attracted. And in a thunderstorm or in any type of situation where you have a lot of particles rubbing against each other, that could be wind. Wind with water in it is going to be even more reactive to this, and wind with particles of ash and dust and things like that are going to have a lot of particles to rub together to make this electron difference. So I'm going to show you. If we start out with normal atoms with electrons on the outside, and then we rub them together, and next thing you know you have atoms with no electrons, and let's say that they go down to the bottom, and atoms with extra electrons that end up at the top. And boy, they sure miss having those extra electrons. Atoms with electrons at the top, and atoms without electrons down at the bottom. So you've got extra electrons at the top, no electrons. Positive charges will collect near the top of the thundercloud, and negative charges will be down near the bottom. At the bottom, and this ends up with what we have as a negative charge, and down here at the bottom we have a positive charge. The positives and the negatives, they want to reconnect. So what they do is they are going to go through this process of attraction to this, to this, to this, and they build up until they have enough pressure that they zap, and they make a connection, and they send a bunch of the electrons back to where they belong. That's where lightning comes from. So you have this situation where you have atoms at the bottom with no electrons and atoms at the top that have electrons. The atoms at the bottom want those electrons back, and those electrons will build up and build up and build up here until they send down an electrical current, zap, down to the bottom, which will replenish these atoms with electrons, but that's a lightning strike. I'm going to include some links in the show notes for you to look into more of how electrons create electrical charges. You can work with the idea of a balloon with a sweater and rubbing it to scrape off some of those electrons. Maybe you've done that before. If you have a balloon around, go ahead and try it. But there's a simulation online you can do with it also. There's another one with John Travolta who's zapping some electrons off of the carpet and then zapping them into a conductive metal. So check that out, give it a shot, play around with it, and then when you're done, go ahead and mark this assignment as done. There's nothing to turn in. And today we'll talk a little bit more about COVID. We'll talk about what your questions were and what your answers were.